welcome to our channel. I'm Angie and today I'm making cream puffs with a crackling top and also two flavors of pastry cream, Thai tea and matcha. If you can't tell already by our Thai tea dalgona coffee video and our Thai tea panna cotta video, Thai tea is one of my favorite flavors, so why not put it in a cream puff too? I made these for my friends and they were a big hit, so let's get to making them. This video is longer than usual, so I'll leave timestamps in the description. Exact measurements will also be in the description. The first thing we're going to do is make our crackling top. To do this, I'm going to mix softened butter with brown sugar and all-purpose flour. I don't know about you, but it was really hard finding all-purpose flour in a time like this as we all shelter in place, and all I could find was all-purpose wheat flour. And this worked perfectly. I'm also going to add a pinch of salt and mix this all together until it's well incorporated. Once it's well mixed, I'm going to use half of it as is for our Thai tea cream puffs. I'm going to roll this half first in between two pieces of parchment paper. If you don't have parchment paper, you can roll it out in a large ziplock bag. First, I'm going to flatten it out with my hands so it's easier to work with. The goal here is to get it to about 1/8 inch thick. We're using a cup because we have no rolling pin, so just work with what you got. With the other half of our mixture, I'm going to add half a teaspoon of matcha powder. And you guessed it, we're using this to top our matcha cream puffs. When the matcha powder is all mixed in, it's time to roll it out. Now that I'm done rolling both out, I'm going to place them in my freezer until I need them. And now it's time to work on our choux pastry. First thing I'm going to do is preheat my oven to 450 degrees. For my choux pastry, I need 4 eggs and all-purpose flour. Now that I have that set aside, I'm going to put my butter and a cup of cold water into a medium-sized pan and heat this on medium heat. What I'm looking for here is for the butter to be melted, and when this begins to simmer, I'm going to add in my flour and start to mix this with a wooden spoon. The dough is going to come together pretty quickly, but be sure to keep on mixing until it pulls away from the pot cleanly. Now I'm going to take it off the stove, put it in a large bowl, and spread it out a little bit so it can cool down. I'll probably let this cool for about 10 minutes. Now it's time to add my eggs. I'm going to add them one at a time and mix it really well before adding the next. I used a whisk here, but I wish I would have just used my wooden spoon like I normally do. The batter kept getting stuck in the whisk, so I had to keep using my wooden spoon to poke all the dough out. When all my eggs are incorporated and the dough is smooth, I'm going to transfer this to a large Ziploc bag. This batter makes about 25 cream puffs for me. Sometimes it makes a little bit more, sometimes it makes a little bit less. It just depends on how consistent I am when I'm piping them out. So I'm going to pipe them onto a baking sheet lined with parchment paper, so they're about 1.5 inches in size. I also spaced them out about 1 inch or 2, so there's a little bit of room for it to expand. I'm going to take my chilled crackling top out of the freezer and peel the parchment paper back very gently. So I also don't have a cookie cutter, so I'm using this ounce measuring thing, you know, the kind that you use for hard liquor, to cut out my crackling tops. I like to cut them out to be about the same size as my choux pastries, so that way it drapes over the choux pastry really nicely when it bakes. I'm using a butter knife to help me remove the crackling top from the parchment papers so I can place them gently on top of the piped choux pastry. You want to work quickly here so the crackling top doesn't soften. That way they're easier to work with and they'll look a lot better. When we were filming this, it was a really hot day, and whenever we film it takes a little bit longer. By the time we got to the matcha crackling top, it was already getting really soft, so they didn't look as nice as the Thai tea ones. I would recommend putting half of it in the freezer while you work with the first half and then pulling out the second half when you're ready for it. I'm going to place these into the center of my oven and turn the heat down to 350 degrees. I'll let it bake for about 30 to 40 minutes. I'll start checking on them at around 30 minutes. As my cream puffs bake, I'm going to work on my two pastry creams. The first one that I'm going to work on is the matcha one. I'm going to bring a cup of milk to a light boil. While that's heating up on the stove, I'm going to separate my eggs. I'm only using the egg yolks here, and to my egg yolks, I'm going to add cornstarch, matcha powder, and sugar and whisk this until it's smooth. Now that my milk is heated, I'm going to pour a little bit at a time and whisk this together in between each addition. This will make sure that I don't curdle my eggs. When my mixture has warmed up a little bit, I'll pour the rest of the milk and bring it back to my stove on medium heat. At first, it'll seem like nothing is really happening, but then all of a sudden, it'll whisk up and thicken up really quickly. So be sure to constantly whisk this.
Oh, here it goes. There it is, like magic. Okay.
Now that it's thickened up, I'm going to transfer this into a bowl and give it a whisk just to make sure it's smooth, and then add 1 tablespoon of cold butter and a little bit of vanilla. Once everything is mixed, I'm going to cover this with saran wrap until it touches the top of my pastry cream. This will help prevent a skin from forming. Once it's cooled down for a little bit, I'm going to place it into the refrigerator so it can chill. My choux pastry is done baking now, so I'm going to take it out of the oven, transfer it to a cooling rack, and then put it back into the oven so it can cool with the oven temperature turned off. I'm also going to leave the oven door open slightly. As that's cooling, I'm going to make my second pastry cream, the Thai tea pastry cream. I'm going to make the Thai tea pastry cream in the exact same way. The only difference here is that I'm going to heat up a little bit more milk and then pour it over my Thai tea mix and let that steep for 5 minutes. Once my Thai tea milk is ready, I'm going to pour this into my sugar, cornstarch, and egg yolk mixture. And I want to do the same thing here where I just add a little bit at a time to make sure that I don't curdle my eggs. With the Thai tea pastry cream, just like the matcha pastry cream, I'm going to heat this up over the stove until it thickens up. I do have to say, between the matcha and the Thai tea pastry creams, the Thai tea pastry cream is the more popular one with my friends and family. Transfer it to a bowl, give it a good whisk, add my butter and vanilla, mix it all together, cover it with saran wrap, and place it in my fridge to chill. My pastry creams have been chilled. Before I pipe them into my choux pastries, I'm going to give it a good mix just to loosen it up. The way that I like to fill my choux pastries is by cutting a little X into the side. I've tried cutting an X into the bottom of the choux pastry before, but sometimes if it sits out a little bit too long, some of the pastry cream might start to leak out. I'm basically filling these blind. What I mean is there's no way for me to see how much pastry cream is actually going inside, so I really just go based on feel. I'll take an empty one, lift that up to see what it feels like empty, and then I'll take a filled one to see, okay, does it feel heavy enough? And then kind of guess. I'm not a professional, this is just what works for me.
Whoa, this one's heavy.
So these are our final cream puffs cut in half. This one's matcha and this one's Thai tea. You can tell that these cream puffs are really nice and airy, and there's a lot of room for you to fill it up with your pastry cream. I don't know if you can hear that crunch, but the tops are really crunchy. And pastry cream is so smooth. And Jason hates it when I talk with my mouth full. Look at the crackling top. So these are nicknamed crack buns because of the crackling top, but also because they're really addicting. So good. So this is how we make, or when I say we, I mean me, because I'm pretty sure Jason is never going to make this. So this is how I make our crackling top cream puffs with Thai tea and matcha pastry cream. They're really delicious and they're so good. I hope you'll give it a try. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on our next videos. We'll see you in the next one.